Hello and welcome back to my craft room. If you're a regular viewer, you'll know that I've been working with the Stitch Kit Craft of the Month box for April. This month we're focusing on crochet granny squares. So let me take you straight to the desk and show you where I've been getting to, what I've been up to. So here we go. These are the little squares that I've been crocheting. Before I forget to say, if you want to get hold of this amazing box, and I genuinely, I can't recommend these boxes highly enough. This whole box was 25 quid. There's, including post and packing, there's enough to make the largest size, enough wool to make the largest size of this gorgeous poncho, plus the hook, the pattern, and some other extra goodies as well. So if you wanted to get hold of it, we've got a discount code which will give you 10% off. It's already a bargain. Their boxes are fab. If you're not into crochet, you can also use that against a mixed subscription and pick one of their 6 other disciplines that they offer. Or you could go for crochet but ask for it not to be granny squares if you don't like granny squares. They're so flexible, they make every single box up to suit each person. So you can use that code up to and including the 30th of April. After that, we'll be on to something new for the craft of the month for April, for May, and I have no idea what it's going to be. It's a complete surprise to me. I promise you, I mean, they send me the box, but I don't get paid to say this. I'm not getting commission or anything. I just genuinely think their boxes are fab, and they're a small company. They work really hard to put these boxes together for us, and I just think they're brilliant, so I'm very happy to share them. But anyway, today, so I thought I'd show you how I'm getting on with that, and I'm very proud of my stack of squares. Now I've got to make either 46 squares if I go for the medium size, in which case I'm 2/3 of the way there, or if I decide I want the bigger size, I need to make 78 squares. Either way, I've got enough wool, more than enough wool, to make the bigger size. But I thought I'll just see, once I've got the 46 done, I'm going to put the squares together and see how big it looks, because I might find that the medium size is big enough for me. I also thought, while I'm at it, I'll just show you what I've been doing, because I've not tried blocking squares before, and you can see the difference there. This is one that I've just done, and these ones have all been blocked. And you can see it makes a difference. It straightens them up, it settles the stitches down, it makes them a uniform kind of size, and I don't know, they just sit better once they've been blocked. And I thought I'd show you. I treated myself to a gadget to do this with, so I thought I'd show you before I take this next lot of blocks off. So this is the board, and then it comes with this little stand, which is really nice because it's got space to put the pegs that go into the board, and your crochet hooks and stitch markers in my case, but you know, store whatever suits you in there. And then it just sits in the stand like this, and I tend to then pop it in front of I put it on the floor in front of one of my radiators, and they dry there pretty quickly. So I thought I would just show you how I go about doing this, sort of, before I move on to the project I'm actually going to do today. So these ones have been sat by my heater overnight, and now I'm about to take them off. And I just set the pegs so that it sort of comfortably, you know, it holds the squares taut, but it's not stretching them ridiculously. But you have to kind of stretch it a little bit, otherwise it's not going to do anything. So yeah, so then I got the satisfaction of taking these off, and look how beautiful. It's such an improvement on that. Oops, let me take the rest of these off. And I have got another way that I have blocked things before. I blame Fabulous Jax for this one. It was Fabulous Jax in our Discord who showed me a picture sent me a link for one of these, and I couldn't resist. So yeah, all I would do to block this one would be, I tend to start, and I don't know, I've never done this before, so I'm not an expert. This is just what I found is working for me. I put the 4 corners on first. I've been doing my tried and trusted method of weaving the ends in as I go, so each of these squares, instead of having 14 ends to deal with, has only got one end. I did show that on a previous video, how I've been doing that. And although they've been woven in as they go, the starting ends get woven into the beginning of the first cluster of treble stitches at the corners, and the finishing ends get woven back a little way and then enclosed within the stitch as I work along, and that is working really well for me. And I honestly don't think you can tell where the slight extra bulk is from where I've woven the yarn in at the beginning. When you're doing these clusters with the gaps between, you can't just carry the yarn along and enclose it as you go, and in any case in the past I found that doesn't actually keep the ends in. My ends tend to still escape later, but this way hopefully will do the trick. It's a little bit more fiddly for that, just that point where you're weaving the end in as you go, but it's a lot less hassle than getting needle and things out later on and doing what would amount to about 1,000 ends all at one time, which I would hate. So I do them like that. I stack them about 4 high. I tend to finish 4 in an evening, so that works out fine. And then I got this, it's just an old cleaning solution bottle which I filled with just plain water, and I just give it a spritz. So I'll give that one a spritz, then I'll put another one on, and then I'll give that a spritz, and so on. So I've got this little layer cake going on. Put it in the stand, pop it in front of the radiator, and tend to leave it overnight, but I don't think it really needs that long, to be honest. Let's put these out of the way now, because they're casting it's such a tall bundle now, it's casting a shadow. I've also got this, which is a cheaper solution. So it's a pack of, let me have a look, it's a pack of 6 of these. I can't remember exactly what it cost me, I've had them for ages, but it was under a tenner anyway, well under a tenner, from Amazon, and it's meant for like a yoga mat or whatever. And they just, it's handy because they just stack up into this small square shape, but you can put them together to create a mat. So I've used these for blocking things before, and of course the nice thing about it being this interlocking format is that you can, you know, if you've got a long scarf, you could arrange them all in one strip. If you've got something big and square like a poncho, you could pin them out. And I use those little T-pins that you get for, I think they're for quilting and things. Anyway, little T, they're called T-pins. Quite cheap to get hold of, so I use those, and that works as well. But I do it for doing granny squares. I love that little gadget I've just shown you, and I now wish I'd bought an even bigger one, because I've got some big hexagons to do for my Janie Crow blanket, and I think they're going to be too big for that, so kind of regret not going for the biggest size now, but those will have to be done on this. I'll leave a link to Stitch Kit. I don't think, yeah, the details on here. I'll leave a link to Stitch Kit in the description box. Don't forget to use that code. As I say, if you don't want to do crochet, you can use it for a mixed subscription. You can cancel a subscription at any time. If you do order, make sure you fill in the online questionnaire. It's there right where you're ordering, right where you click to select, and when you're checking out. You just follow that link, fill in the online questionnaire, tell them what craft, you know, all about which crafts you like, what size you are, what colours you like, what colours you don't like, all that kind of thing, and then they will make sure your box is perfect for you. Right, so this is what I'm going to do today. I decided, because I'm doing those squares, but there's a limit to how many times you'd want to see me make one of those squares exactly the same. I'll come back when I come to finish off my poncho, but I thought in the meantime I'll do 2 or 3 videos this month, just trying out different kinds of granny squares from this vintage book, which, as luck would have it, it's just complete coincidence, a friend gave me about a month ago, a couple of weeks before I got that box through. She gave me a bundle of things where she'd been clearing out some of her mum's crafty stash, and amongst it were some magazines and books, including this one, and it's got a whole load of, amongst other things, it's going to be a fabulous book to have. It's falling apart a little bit, but it still works. Some lovely squares, edgings, different kinds of motifs and things. So I thought, right, I'm going to try some of their granny squares. You can see the lady on the front is crocheting a fabulous granny square blanket, which I really love. I love all those colours that she's using. I think that would be very current if you made that today, actually. So last week I did, where have I put them? Last week I made these. So this is from that's this pattern, the Michelle Square, and they actually do show this one as a bedspread and matching pillow. How 70s does that scene look? I love it. I'm using a completely different colour scheme, but I love the idea. I love how with this particular square you've got the squares running that way, but you've got the crosses over the top with these kind of quadruple trebles, which I hadn't made before, so that when you put them all together it creates this kind of cross, this grid over the top. Of course, I'm not going to be doing all the same square. I'm going to be doing lots of different squares. Some of them will be different sizes, and I'm going to put them into a kind of higgledy-piggledy blanket, all bright colours and things, all different designs of squares, with a bit of freeform crochet in between to join it all together. Inspired by one that Wendy shared in our Discord community that I showed last time. I'll put a link to my crochet playlist, which I think is where I'll put these, and I'll put these on the stitch kit playlist as well, so you can have a look at other stitch kit boxes that I've opened and played with. I haven't been disappointed once. I've been blown away every time. I think I'm just going to do this next square in the book, this Danish Square. I think it looks really pretty. So I'm going to need 4 colours again, so I think I'll use the same 4 colours. I'm going to use double knitting wool, but of course these will work with any wool. Just use the right size hook, and they'll come out a different size, but as long as you're consistent. In this case, it doesn't even matter if I end up with squares, different sizes of squares, because I like that look. I love how Wendy's blanket looked with all the different sizes. So, okay. So where it says red yarn, I'm going to use that deep pink, I think. I haven't done this one at all before. Last week I'd practiced it first. This time you're going to be learning with me. Now I'm going to try and make it beginner friendly, but I showed last time, I showed how the real basics, like how to do a treble stitch and a slip stitch and things. So the stitches that I've showed before I won't explain again, because otherwise these videos are going to get too long. So if you did want to see a demonstration of those stitches, you can go back to the playlist and have a look at the last video. And what I'll do this time is just show any that I didn't show last time. I am going to be talking in UK terms, but I will refer to US terms as well. But if I forget, my default is UK terms. But it's easy enough to find a conversion online. Okay, so I'm starting with a slip stitch on my hook. I showed how to do that last time, and I'm going to make 10 chain. Last time I typed the pattern out and put it in the description box. I'll hopefully remember to do that this time. If I don't, or someone wants it, just give me a shout in the comments to remind me. Okay, so 10 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And again, I did show chain last time. Join in a ring with a slip stitch. Again, showed that last time, so I'll just go ahead and do that now. Now 20 double crochet in the ring. So by joining with the slip stitch, we've created this ring, and now I'm going to do 20 double crochet. Let me zoom you in a little bit now. UK double crochet, US single crochet. We're going to work these into the ring, so we'll put the hook in through the ring. We'll grab the yarn and pull it through, so we've now got 2 loops on the hook. Yarn around the hook like that, and pull it through those 2 loops on the hook to complete the stitch. So that's 1. I might want to use a stitch marker here to make it easy to find where my first stitch was, so I'm just going to put that through there. 20 double crochet in the ring. Okay, so that's 1. I've got to do 19 more. Let's do another slow one, so that's 2. 3. 4. So there's the stitch marker through the first one. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm now just going to do 16 more to make my 20 double crochet in this ring. and then we're going to join with the slip stitch again. So I take my little stitch marker out, and that's the stitch I'm going to join in. So my slip stitch is just putting the hook through, pulling the yarn through both loops on the hook. And there's a note here, it says all rounds are closed in the same way. So the colour is still saying red, so it's my dark pink. I think last time we had the repeats were in brackets. This time they seem to be between asterisks. So let me show you that because it's a little bit different. So I'm on to round 2 now, still using red, and you've got an asterisk here and an asterisk there. So this whole sequence between the asterisks is going to be repeated 4 times. Sometimes they put the repeat sequence in brackets. So we've got 1 double crochet. Remember, this is UK term, so this is single crochet in American or rest of world. So 1 double crochet, 8 chain, and miss 4 stitches. And we're going to do that 4 times. So this time we're not working into the ring, we're going to be working into the stitches from the previous row. And they haven't said which one to work into. Sometimes you'll find patterns will say the second one from the hook, or into the first stitch or whatever. They're not saying anything, so I'm going to assume I'll go into this one I've just slip stitched into to join. So it's a double crochet or single crochet US rest of world terms and 8 chain. So double crochet, we go into there, pull a loop through, yarn around the hook, pull it through. That's my double crochet. And then we're going to do 8 chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're going to miss 4 stitches. So this is the stitch that I've been going into here. I'm going to miss this one, this one, this one, and this one. I'm doing this looking up at the camera, it's awkward. So I'm missing those 4 and I'm going into the next one. Let me check that with my actual eyes instead of the camera. So there's the one I've been stitching into. Miss 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Go into the next one. I need to make sure that I go into the front and back of the stitches, unless stated otherwise. That's what you would assume. You go into both those arms of the V of the stitch. And now I'm going to start that sequence again. I've got to do that 4 times. So make my double crochet and then 8 chain again. 1, miss 4 stitches again. So here's the one I've been working into. Miss 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to go into this one. Make my double crochet again, or single crochet rest of the world. Single crochet if you're not in the UK, double crochet if you are. There's my double crochet, and then 8 chain. Close with a slip stitch. Round 3, double crochet in the UK, single crochet anywhere else. And what it's saying is double crochet in the double crochet. So in other words, the double crochet that we made last on the beginning of the last round. So, and quite often in granny squares and other crochet, you're doing a chain at the start of the row to turn to give you a bit of height. The height of the stitch to turn, but it's not telling me to do that, so I'm not doing it. I'm following the pattern. My instinct is making me want to do a chain at the start of each round. But yeah, let's do it. Let's do as it says. So this was my first double crochet in the last round. This one here. So I'm going to, there's the top of that stitch. I'm going to turn it so that I can see those little V's and make sure that I go through the front and back at the top of that stitch from the last round. There we go. And I'm going to do another double crochet into it, or single crochet anywhere else in the world. That's my double crochet. And again, I've got this bit in inside within asterisks. So I've got 1 double crochet in the double crochet, then I'm going to do 9 double crochet in the 8 chain space, and that whole little sequence is going to be repeated. Well, it doesn't say repeat 4 times, but that must be what they mean. 4 times here. I think they've just forgotten to put the 4 times on round 3. It can't not be repeated 4 times, the same as the others. So I'm going to do it 4 times. Sometimes you do occasionally just get a typo in these things. I'll try and not repeat the typo when I put it in the description box. So I've done my double crochet already. Now I'm going to do 9 chain in the 8 chain space. So this is the 8 chain space from the round before. So I'm going to work 9 double crochet into this, or single crochet elsewhere in the world. So that's 1, and I'm going around just the same as I did working into the ring initially. So the stitch is being worked around that chain. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Do it a bit slower just in case. I'm trying to look on the camera and I can't see what I'm doing. That's 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So that's the first repeat, and you can see what I mean, that it can't, you know, you must have to repeat that 4 times, because you're repeating 4 times on the rest of the rounds. It's just clearly a typo. They've got to put it this time. So that's the end of the little sequence. I'm going to do that whole sequence 3 more times. So I'm starting with a double crochet into the double crochet of the previous round. So that's this one where we worked the double crochet or single crochet into that stitch, and now I'm going to go into the top of that stitch, making sure I pick up the front and back of that little V shape. See, we've got this row of like interlocking little V's. I'm making sure I'm picking up the front and back of them at the top of this stitch. Can you see? Like that. I'm working another UK double crochet, single crochet anywhere else in the world, and then 9 more double crochet into this 8 chain space. That's the second repeat done. So I'm going to carry on and repeat that 2 more times and then join with the slip stitch at the end again. One thing I just wanted to mention in case anybody isn't aware, I do tutorial videos like this. I do timestamp them. So if you hover your mouse over the bottom, or whatever you do, whatever device you're looking on, whatever it is you have to do, you can bring up the timestamps along the bottom of the video, and you can click on any of them. You can it'll open up chapters down the side where you can look at different sections of the video to get the bit you want, or you can go into the description box and click on the bit you want from there as well. You can also speed up or slow down, and you can mute me if you don't want to hear me waffling as well. So for anybody who is finding I'm going too fast or too slow or talking too much, it's all under your control. Okay, so I'm going to do that sequence 2 more times. I'll skip over that and come back to you when I come to the slip stitch at the end of this round. It's not really a row with when you're making squares like this. It's not a row where you keep turning the work. It's a round where you just keep going round in the same direction. 9. That's the last of that little sequence, and now I'm going to join back where I started with a slip stitch. There we go. Starting to go square shaped now, which is always a good thing when you're making a square. So we're on to round 4, and we're going to be changing colour. So here I need to finish off this yarn, and this is where I'm going to start weaving my ends in as I go. And what I've taken to doing is where I've got this end, I'm now going to weave back a few stitches along the way I came, and I just do this by going into the back of the stitch on the previous row, just the back, not the front and back arms this time of that V, just that back one. So we've got here and here, front and back, I'm just going in the back loop. I did show this last time, so I'm not going to go on about it too much this time. I just don't want to end up with a whole load of ends because I hate them. And I forgot to weave that one in at the beginning I mentioned, but I'll do that later. So I'm going to leave that end there now. I'm going to start somewhere else. I'm going to start in one of the other corners, and and then as I work back around, I will be laying this along the stitches as I go, and this will get enclosed in the next row of stitches. So I'll probably go back to the previous corner to start. So this time we're inserting the hook in the 5th of 9 stitches. So it doesn't say which 9 stitches, you can pick any group of 9 stitches, which of course is these ones we worked around here. So that is the double stitch, or single if you're not in the UK. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the other double stitch. So there's the double, and I've got to go into the 5th of the 9 stitches. So there's the double now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 5th. Pulling the end through completely like that. Then I'm putting it behind this working end, twisting it round and around again to make like a little surgeon's knot. Pull that tight, and then I can weave this end in as I go. Where I've been doing trebles, I've been weaving it in with the stitch. I'm not sure if that's going to work with the doubles, but I'll soon find out. When I say trebles, that's a double in US terms. Oh, it's so confusing. I wish we just all spoke the same crochet language. So inserting the hook in the 5th of 9 stitches, worked in the 8 chain space, right? Work 2 double crochet in the same stitch. Then in brackets it's got angle, so I guess this is where we're going to start kind of turning the corner. So this is round 4 we're looking at now. And you can see there's the asterisk there and another asterisk there, and we'll repeat all of that sequence 4 times. So inserting the hook in the 5th of 9 stitches, which is what I've done. I've joined my new colour there. Work 2 double crochet or single crochet in the same stitch, and that will start to make the angle of the corner, and then 1 double crochet in each of the next 9 stitches, and you do that 4 times. Okay, so I want to work 2 double crochet into the same stitch. I'm going to pick up this loose end for the first stage of the double crochet or single crochet. So I'm going to pull both those yarns through, then I'm going to drop the end and complete the stitch. And I've got to do that stitch twice into this one, haven't I? I need to do 2 double crochet into the same stitch. So going back into the same hole, so there's the hole I went through. I'm going back into the same hole. Again, I'm going to pull both those lengths through, then drop that end. This is just my way of doing it to get rid of the ends. Not everybody would want to do it this way, but it's working for me. And then pull just 1 yarn through to complete the stitch. So that's kind of woven that into that stitch a little bit. Now I'm going to carry on doing normal double crochet, and I'm just going to hold this thread along the line here as I go. So I've got to do 9 double crochet, 1 in each. So you can see I'm putting my hook through, and I'm making sure that I'm including this loose end as well. Putting my yarn through, yarn around the hook, putting it through again to complete the stitch, and this end is now enclosed within those stitches. So that's my 2 that I did in the first one. I've done 2 more. I've got to do 9 altogether. So 1, 2, 3, 2 in the first stitch where we started, which was that 5th in this ring of 9, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that brings me up to the middle of this loop, the 5th of 9 again. Now this end, I've now got this end that I'm going to weave in the same way, by holding it alongside and entrapping it within these stitches again. It feels a bit fiddly, but believe me, it's a lot less fiddly than if you have to get a needle out at the end and weave them all in. So that was my first repeat. Now this is the second one. So we're going to do 2 stitches into this same one from the previous row. So that's 1, and going back in the same hole, 2, and then 9, enclosing this as I go. So 1, 2, and I could have just left this end where I joined, or where I fastened it off, but I prefer to weave it back a little way, and now it's getting woven back the way it came, if that makes sense. So it's gone back and forth a couple of times. I just think that's more secure to weave the ends in. Not the way everybody does it, but it's the way I do it. So yeah, with that end that I've just cut off, it started here where I fastened off before. I wove it back to around here, and then I laid it back along this way, so it's been fastened off securely there with a knot, it's been woven along there, and it's now been enclosed back along up to here. So I feel like that's enough. Right, so now I'm ready to start that sequence for a 3rd time. Here's my next stitch. It should be the one in the middle of that loop. 1, 2, and same stitch, and then 9 stitches all the way along, and definitely starting to look more like a square shape now, isn't it? So I'm going to repeat the sequence for the last time now. Here's my next stitch I'm coming to. I always have a double check to make sure it looks right. I haven't miscounted, but yeah, I can see that is in the middle of this kind of loop here. It's the 5th one in that row of 9 that we did there. So I'm going to do my 2 double crochet into there, 1, 2, single crochet if you're not in the UK. I keep saying it, I know, but and now 9 should bring me right along here. We want a slip stitch at the end, so I'm just going to find the first stitch of the last row. The top of that is here. I'm going to make sure I get the front and back of it like that, and I'm just going to pull my thread through to slip stitch that round together. Now are we changing? Yes, we're changing colour again. It says pale pink, and I think I'll actually go with the pale pink for this one then. So to fasten off, I'm just going to pull my thread through, and as I mentioned just now, I could now just lay this yarn along here and enclose it in the stitches of the next round. I don't feel like that's enough to stop the ends coming out, so what I'm doing, that's why I'm weaving these back a little way, and I'm making myself stop and do it now rather than do them all at the end, I guess. So by weaving them along a little way, actually weaving them along into the back of each stitch of the previous row for a few stitches, I just feel like that's a bit more secure, because there's nothing more annoying than having those ends pop out the first time you wash a blanket or whatever. That feels like enough, and then it will be laid along this way and it will get enclosed in the next round of stitches. And we're on to round 5. So it starts with 2 double crochet in angle. So they did say in round 4 they referred to that point where we did 2 double crochet or single crochets into that one stitch at each corner. They're referring to that as angle. So we're starting at one of those corner angles. I'm going to do 2 double crochet, UK double crochet in the angle, and then 10 double crochet. I'm going to do that 4 times. It's a very simple pattern, isn't it? Obviously it's just quite repetitive, which is one of the things I like about granny squares. And if I can get a repertoire of different shapes, different designs of granny squares, it makes it more interesting. So I need to look for one of these corners, and you can see that's the one they refer to as angle, because you can see that there are, if you look here, you can see there's 1 stitch. I'm explaining this in very beginner terms, so I apologise to anybody who already knows all this, but as I say, you can whiz through this bit. So here you can see there's 1 stitch in each stitch of the previous row. On this one at the corner you can see 2 stitches have been worked into that same hole, and that's what's helping it to make an angle at the corner. And that is where we're going in with the new colour. So I'm just putting my hook straight through there, and in the same way that I did before, pulling the end through and knotting it in. It's not, well, I've only just recently started doing it this way, but it's working really well for me, so I'm sticking with it. Certainly for projects like this where I'm going to have a lot of ends. Right, and we're going to do pretty much like we did before, except this time it'll be 10 stitches in between each corner. So I'm going to pick up the loose end for this first stitch like I did at the last round. So here's my double crochet, drop the end, pull it through, and I'm going to do another stitch into that same hole, picking up the spare end for this one, pulling them both through, dropping the spare end, pulling them both through. I now feel like I've kind of locked that in place there, and I'm just going to now lay this along so it will get enclosed within the stitches naturally as I go along. So it's now 10 double crochet or single crochet if you're not in the UK, making sure I'm enclosing this within the stitch. So when I go into my stitch from the previous row, I'm making sure I go that this is included as well, like that. So it's now running along inside those stitches. So it's 2, I've got 10 to do. 10 double crochet done. Let's just snip that off out of my way now. And now I've come back to the angle where you've got those 2 stitches in the same stitch of the previous row, and I'm just going into that hole there twice. So 1 double crochet, back in the same hole, another one, and that's made another angle. And then I'll do another 10 angle, 10 angle, 10 slip stitch to join, and then I'll be back. I've actually just recorded round 6. I think there's a mistake in it. At least it's not working for me, so I'm doing this slightly differently, and I'm going to record for you the way that I've worked it out, because I've gone back and counted my stitches. I haven't made a mistake that I can find, so I think there's a slight miswording in the pattern. And if you look closely at the photo, you can see, so this is the row, this is round 6 we're going to be working on now. You've got these trebles, as we call them in the UK, doubles in the US, with spaces in between, and you can see there's less of a space between the stitches at the corners. You've got that angle bit, and then you've got a small space before the next treble, and then a bigger space. And it was when I looked at the photo that I realised I don't think it's me doing it wrong, I think it's worded wrong, this pattern. Anyway, so I'm gonna re-record this, and it might just be me misunderstanding how they're wording it, I don't know, but I don't want to tell you wrong, so I'm going to start this whole round again. So I've tied in my new colour just as before into one of the corners. And we're going to be doing trebles this time, UK trebles, doubles anywhere else in the world. And I'm going to start with a standing treble. So to do the standing, and I'm going to be weaving my end in as I go. Not everybody would want to do it that way, but that's what I'm going to be doing. But yeah, just leave it. Leave it. I'm not going to be able to weave this end in entirely anyway. I'm going to have some weaving in to do, I think, with this one. So yeah, up to you whether you leave the ends till after or do it my way. Totally up to you. Normally for a treble, I'd be just winding the yarn around the hook once before I go in. For a standing treble, I'm going around again, and then I'm going to go into the stitch from before. So I'm going into that angle stitch there, and pulling a loop through. And then just for this second stage of the treble, I'm going to pick up this loose end to weave my end in. Yarn around the hook, pull it through those next two loops. It now looks like I've got 3 loops on the hook. It's really only 2 because this is a double thickness one. Now I'm dropping the end, yarn around the hook and pulling it through the last 2 loops on the hook to complete that stitch. That's my standing treble with the end woven in. Then the pattern says to do a chain and then another treble into the same stitch. So I'm going back into that same hole, pulling a loop through, and then this time I'm picking up the loose end as well, putting them both around the hook and pulling them through, then dropping the loose end. Yarn around the hook. That is just, as I say, my fiddly way of avoiding weaving ends later on. If I could, I would now continue this along, carrying this thread along with me to weave it in, but I don't think I can because I think it's going to show. I think that's the best I can do with it for now, and I probably will have to weave it in a little bit more at the end, which is a bit annoying, but I'm going to explain this pattern the way I'm doing it now, as well as the asterisks at the beginning and the end of the round, so that everything between those 2 asterisks is repeated 4 times. You've also got this little double circle symbol, so everything between those 2 double circles is being repeated 6 times within that overall 4-time repeat, if that makes sense. So here I've just done my 1 treble, 1 chain, 1 treble in that angle stitch from the previous round, and then this next little sequence I'm going to repeat 6 times, and then 1 chain, and then I'll repeat that whole thing, including the 6 times, will be repeated 4 times. Hopefully that will make more sense as I go along. I know it's confusing when you first look at these patterns, so I'm trying to explain it for the benefit of people just start to get used to reading crochet patterns, especially if you're not used to it and you get something where they have like forgotten to write 4 times like just now, or I think this is wrong. See, what they're saying here is that after you've done that little cluster in the angle for the corner, you do 1 chain and you miss a stitch. You do miss a stitch for the next 5 times, but for this first repeat you don't miss a stitch. You have to go into the next one, otherwise you haven't got enough stitches. So this is the way I'm doing it. I'm doing my 1 chain and I'm not missing this next stitch, I'm going into this next stitch. So yarn around the hook, and I'm doing a treble again, or double anywhere else in the world. Pulling my yarn through, picking up the loose end, putting them both through, dropping the loose end again, yarn around the hook 1 more time and pulling it through all the loops on the hook to complete the stitch. And now I'm going chain 1, miss a stitch, and going in this next one. So I'm not going to go into this stitch, I'm going to go into this one and do another treble. Can't pick up my loose end now because the colour will show along the back, so I'll have to just weave that in a bit more at the end, I think. Now chain 1, miss a stitch, go in the next one. So other than I'm going with the pattern other than not missing a stitch at the beginning, because otherwise the numbers just weren't working out right. So I need to repeat, I need to do 6 of these trebles. That's 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 more to do. So the chain in between is kind of bridging the gap where you're missing a stitch, so you create these little spaces. So there's my cluster, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, one more to go. Chain, miss a stitch, treble. Just brought me back to my cluster again at the next corner, so that's ideal. So now I'm going to do my little cluster here, and then I'm going to do another treble into the next stitch. So finishing that one with a chain. So this is the whole sequence that will altogether be repeated 4 times, starting now. I'm going to do a treble, a chain, and another treble, all into this angle here. So I'm going into that corner and doing a treble, UK treble, and a chain, and another treble. Then I'm going to go chain, treble into the next stitch. The pattern says to miss one. I'm not missing one, I'm going into the next stitch. And now I'm following the pattern, so I've got 5. I'm going to repeat 5 times now. Chain, miss a stitch, treble into the next one. Chain, miss the next stitch, go into the next one, do a treble. And so here, that's my end woven in there. Because I've got gaps here, I can't really weave, that's not really going to weave that end in very successfully. So again, I'm going to have to do this one with a needle afterwards just to finish it off. It's partly woven in, I've woven it back as long as this, but I don't think that's enough for my liking. I don't want my ends coming adrift. So I think with this square, I'm going to have to accept that. I'm going to have a few ends to weave in, but never mind. I won't do too many of this square. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got 2 more to go. So there's my cluster, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 repeats. And then my 1 chain. And now I'm back to the beginning of that little sequence again. So it definitely works out right the way I'm doing it. And to me, I double checking how it looks in the photograph, what I've done there is correct. There's the bit I'm working on. Yeah, that all looks correct to me. Yeah, so I'm going to carry on doing it that way and work my way around. If I've made that really confusing and I can help explain it any further in the comments, do give me a shout. I'll be happy to try and help out. But yeah, this is a pattern I've never tried before, so sometimes you do find this, you have to do it a couple of times before you get your head around it, and sometimes they do make a little mistake, and I think that's what it is. I don't think it's me, I think it's them. Okay, so I'm going to finish this round and then I'll be back for round 7. Okay, I've worked my way round, just doing the last treble here. And the 1 chain, and then I'm going to slip stitch this round closed. So I'm just looking for the top of the first stitch that I made. It can be quite hard to find it. If you get stuck, you can just like line up all the stitches there like the little interlocking V's, and then you can kind of, so it was like that, and it's like, well, where's my top stitch? If I pull it up like that, I can see that that's what I need to pick up. That was the top of my first stitch there, and I'm just gonna pull the yarn through both loops to slip stitch it closed. Yeah, so I've ended up, I've got my corner clusters and then 6 trebles along each side. We're not changing colours, so I don't need to worry about that. I might find that this one, where I said I couldn't weave the end in properly, I might be able to pick it up as I go along here now. Now I'm going back into double crochets and weave that end in as I go. So yeah, I will do if I can. So in the angle, we're going to work 1 double crochet in the treble, 2 double crochet in the 1 chain space, 1 double crochet in the treble, and then 1 double crochet in each double crochet and each 1 chain space. That sounds like a lot, but we'll go for it bit by bit, and I'm going to repeat that whole sequence 4 times. Basically, I'm just putting a double crochet, UK double crochet, single crochet anywhere else in the world, into each stitch and space all the way around, except I'm putting 2 in the angle. And so at each angle we've got 2 treble with a 1 chain space in between. It looks a bit messy at this starting and finishing corner of mine, so that's my, basically that's my treble, those are my trebles, and there's my 1 chain space. And what I'm going to do is put 1 double crochet into that treble from the row before, from the round before. Then I'm going to put 2 double crochet into the space, so a single crochet elsewhere in the world, 1, 2, and then 1 into that next treble. There's the top of the treble. And I'm going to put 1 double crochet or single crochet into each double crochet and each chain space all the way along. So I'm going to put my first double crochet here in here, or single crochet in here, the top of that treble from the previous row. So 1, and then 1 into the space. And then 1 into the treble, and 1 into the space. I'm going to do that all the way around. They don't helpfully tell me how many there should be along there, which would be nice, but they don't, so I have to hope I've got that right. I do like it when there's a stitch count to make sure I haven't gone off pieced somewhere. So now I've come up to the angle again, and I've gone into that first. Let's go back to there a minute. So there I've gone all the way along the side, and now I've come to this angle bit again where I've got the treble, the space and the treble. So I'm going to do my 1 double into that first treble, then I'm doing 2 into the space, 1, 2, so that's taking me around the corner, whoops, and then 1 into the treble again. I feel like I want to go in that space, but they're telling me to go into the next treble first. I feel like I want to go into that chain space. I did it like they said before and it looks okay, so let's do it like they said. So I'm not doing anything with that chain space there, I'm just going into the top of this first. So there's the 2 trebles that make up that angle. This is the first one along the side, so I'm going to go into this first one. I'm not trusting the pattern now, because as far as I'm concerned they've made 2 mistakes. So that's the first treble, and then 1 into the gap, then into the next treble, into the gap. Okay, let's do that corner once more. So doing 1 double into that treble from the previous round. I'm putting 2 into the space, 1, 2, oops, and another 1 into that next treble. Then against my instinct I'm ignoring this space and doing the next double crochet into the top of that treble from the previous row. I've got 1 more corner to do and then I'll be back round to where I started. You can see it's a little bit difficult. I maybe should have put a stitch marker in there to help me see where I started. But that's the first stitch I made into that first treble from the previous round. So when I get to there, I've got to slip stitch together across through there, and then I'm ready for round 8. Here we are, just coming to the end of this round now. Last one into that chain space, and then I'm going to slip stitch into that first stitch from my previous from where I started that round. There we go, and I think we're going to change colour again now. Yes, and possibly if I do this square again I will experiment with going into that first space in on that round. But it may be all right once I've blocked this. It'll probably come out better. I do love this colour combo. Right, so we're on round 8 now, changing colour, so I'll probably go back to the bright pink now. Asterisk there, where we've got 2 double crochet in the angle, so that's both into the same hole, 1 double crochet in each double crochet. So that's all the way around. We're just going to go all the way around, doing double crochets into each stitch with 2 going in to each corner. Okay, I think I'm going to have the same slight confusion on this round as I did with this one, where they're saying to miss a stitch here and I didn't miss a stitch. I missed a stitch between these, but I didn't miss this stitch here. I think it's going to be the same kind of thing. Maybe it's me doing something wrong, but anyway, I'm going to show you the way I think it's going to work for me. And then we're going 1 treble, 1 chain, 1 cluster in this corner. So I'm going to do the standing treble again, and I'm going to weave this in. And then it tells me to do 1 chain, miss a stitch, and 1 treble in the next stitch 8 times. It also, another little boo-boo here, it doesn't tell me to repeat that whole thing 4 times like it has on all the other rounds. So again, this is like, I don't have a lot of faith in this pattern, so hence why I'm kind of interpreting my own way as I go along. Fair to say, if you were doing this as a complete beginner, you would be put off because you think you were doing something wrong. Before, at these corners, I didn't leave a gap, so I'm going to do the same thing again. So I've done my 1 chain, and now I'm going to do my treble into the very next stitch here, so this one, and hope this works out okay. Now I'm doing my chain. Now I'm going to skip a stitch, skip this one, go into this one, chain, skip, treble, and basically I'm going to work this the same way I did that one, so there's probably no need for me to sit and do this with you now. I'll carry on working around that, and then I've got the very last round is going to be the same as round 11, is going to be the same as this one, where I just do a double into each of the stitches. Well, I've ended up with skipping the first stitch there before doing that first treble along the side, and here and here. Here I haven't got a gap at all, but I haven't missed a stitch between them. Here I have, here I haven't, here I haven't. It just depended on how many stitches I ended up with. I did the 8 along the side to make sure the sides were the right length, and if there's a bit less of a gap there than there is there, I'm just going to have to not worry about it. I'll try this square again and give it another go and see if I can get that more precise. But to be honest, that's not bothering me. If you were really perfectionist, it probably would bother you that the corners aren't all identical. It's not gonna bother me. I think the best thing is if I will just photograph this exactly as it is, and maybe some of the expert crocheters that might be watching can tell me if there's something I'm missing or doing wrong. I think there are definitely 2 or 3 definite mistakes here, like not putting the 4 times, for example, that kind of thing. So I will probably, what I'll do with this is try this square a couple more times myself and sort of try and perfect it. But I think that's enough. That I think it's fine for the kind of look that I'm going for. The fact that that square is not exactly perfect ain't going to matter to me. I'm all done with it now. I think it's really pretty. I like it. I'm a bit frustrated, as I say, about not being able to get the spacing quite exactly right, but I honestly don't think I'm going to even notice that. I'll have a bit more of a play with this pattern. I'll try it again, and if I can work out if it's either I've done something wrong or it's another typo, if I can make it a bit clearer, I will replace the pattern that I'm going to put in the description box with a version that will be a bit easier to follow. But I think, you know, even as it is, I love it. I think it's really cheerful, bright, happy, especially in these colours. I'll be interested to try this one, which is a Tyrolean square. It looks very similar, but the wording seems to be quite different, so I'll be interested to try that one. I love the look of it. It's worth persevering to try and get the pattern just right, but even just like this, I really like it. So I hope you've enjoyed watching it as well. Let me get my I think that will do for my thumbnail. Let's bring that up so you can see it all. Thank you very much again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again really soon. Bye.